So if you've ever wondered why the letters on the keyboard out of order, this presentation is for you. So I thought this cartoon was cute. Whoever made this keyboard didn't know how to spell the alphabet. I have to agree, I always thought it should go A, B, C, D, E, F, G across the top row, but obviously it doesn't. So your assignment for today is you're going to write one paragraph explaining to a fourth grader. That means use easy to understand language. Don't try to impress me with big fancy words. Why the keyboard layout is not in alphabetical order. Why doesn't it go A, B, C, D, E, F, G across the top? Well, let's find out. So, why do phones say that they have a QWERTY keyboard? What does that mean? QWERTY. Oh, look, the top row of the keyboard is QWERTY. That's the exact same order they are on your computer keyboard. Isn't that amazing? So, a few years ago, I wanted to find the official correct answer, and I found some stuff posted online, and I want to show you the weird stuff I saw online just to prove to you that anyone can make anything sound good, and people will believe it. So, I found one website that said, the reason the letters are not in alphabetical order is because your fingers don't read from left to right. What does that mean? My fingers don't read at all. Somebody else posted, the computer keyboard is directly derived from the old typewriter keyboard. That's true. Original typewriters were mechanically slower than a reasonably quick typist could type. The keys were arranged to slow down the typist. See, if you get a lot of words on a screen, people believe it. It says the keyboard was arranged to slow down the typist. Well, if that were true, then this guy...
People always ask him, say, Mingo, man, how in the world do you type so fast? And I always tell them, hard work. Hard work. Hard work. Hard work.
Ron Typewriter Mingo picked up an interest in typing back in junior high school, and over the last 18 years, he's improved to a point where he can type 160 words a minute on a manual typewriter.
So again, if it was originally meant to slow you down, Mr. Mingo would not be able to type 160 words a minute on a manual typewriter. By the way, I max out at about 100 words a minute. Somebody else wrote, keyboards were originally laid out on a typewriter when no one could touch type, including the salesman. So saying the salesman would try to sell you a typewriter to your house and saying, anybody can type, see, I can spell typewriter just by using the top row. Can you spell typewriter with just using the top row? Yes, you can, but that doesn't make sense still. Somebody else wrote on the internet, because typists have been trained on QWERTY keyboards since the 1860s and no one can bother to be retraining them. That means we're dumb and can't learn anything new. I think we've learned a lot of new things in the last 5 years. Somebody else said the logic of QWERTY is based on letter usage in English rather than position in the alphabet. What? They're saying that the letters are placed based on how often they're used in English, not where they show up in some silly song. That's starting to sound right. So it's saying if it was in alphabetical order, it would look like this. So what does our keyboard look like? So that would mean your strong fingers, your index and middle fingers would be on the keyboard like that. Wait a minute, what? When you type, do you use some letters more often than others? Yeah, do you type the E and the A way more than the X and the Z? Absolutely. The keyboard is actually designed, this is true, to help you reach the most frequently used keys easily. The keyboard's designed to help you use the most frequently used keys easily. How do they do that? Because these letters are typed with your strongest fingers. You have strong fingers? Yes. The letters you use the most often are typed with your strongest fingers. What are your strongest fingers? Your index and your middle fingers. Your index and your middle fingers are your strongest fingers. So this is basically a QWERTY layout. Your index and middle fingers are your strongest fingers. When you're sitting on the home row, your index and middle fingers do the most reaches. Your weaker fingers, your ring finger and your pinky, sit on these letters. They're not going far, but they're certainly not reaching far either. They're not reaching for keys you use a lot. Now, in all honesty, I would have flopped the U and the O and a few other letters around, but nobody asked me my opinion. So one more time, the keyboard is set up so your strongest fingers, your index and middle fingers, do the most work. Your strongest fingers do the most reaches. Therefore, if your strongest fingers do the most work, they don't wear out so quickly. That actually helps you type faster for longer periods of time. Your strongest fingers do the most work. Therefore, you don't wear out so quickly, and they help you type faster for longer periods of time. So how long has this been around? Well, C.L. Schulz created the typewriter and made different prototypes in his machine shop back in Milwaukee in 1864. First he had 2 rows of bars, then there were 3 rows of bars, 4 rows of bars, and we're back to what we have right now, 3 rows of the letters. 3 rows for the letters. He discovered that they were getting stuck a lot, so what he did was he moved them around so that the letters we use the most often are reached easily with your strongest fingers. So one more time, what's your assignment? You're going to write 1 paragraph explaining to a 4th grader in easy to understand language why the keyboard layout is not in alphabetical order. What do you need to include? Why they're in the current order, what is the name of the current order, who invented it and when. Should have something about your strongest fingers. That means why they're in the correct order. If you have a hard time getting started, you can write it as a letter to someone named Taylor, because that's a regular name, and telling them why the letters are not in alphabetical order. When is this due? By the end of the period. So again, 1 paragraph, just 1 paragraph, explain to a 4th grader in easy to understand language why the keyboard layout is not in alphabetical order. Include why are they in the current order, hint hint. What is the name of the current order? Starts the Q. Who invented it and when? I look forward to reading your paragraphs.